glitchiness. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Literally Dead Book Club live show. In October, we read these 3 books. Don't mind my glitching webcam. It just adds to the ambiance.
You should have just acted like every time somebody commented about it, like they were crazy.
Like, what are you talking about? I don't know the problem, and I don't know how to solve it, so we're just going to survive. Hey. Oh my god, what was my first question? Okay, introductions. How about you all tell me about yourselves? And, I don't know, your name and your social media. And what else? Oh, a recent favorite thriller or horror book you've read. And then we'll get into the books.
Okay, so I will start.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chanel. You can find me at Chanel Time, but I'm promising you there will be nothing new there. Not on YouTube, though.
I was linking all your stuff, and I was like, she doesn't really do anything, but she's there, and she will be there more one day.
Yeah. I'm more active on Instagram. Retired from YouTube at the moment, but maybe back. So, yeah, that's it for my socials. However, you said our favorite thrillers or horror recently, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I pulled it up because I'm really excited. So I recently read Just Like Mother by Anne Hetzel, this author, this book. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, it's slayed. I was gagged. It's so good. It's just like, if you love cults and mothers. Well, you can hate mothers too.
You don't have to like mothers.
This is for hating mother. Cults, mothers, craziness. It really just slayed. It was so good. And I was shocked the entire time I was reading it. I was like, I know what to expect from a horror book about mothers. Boy, did I not know what to expect. It was really good. Yeah. Amazing. I am active on Instagram. Okay, I am. So find me there. Find me there. Anyway, that's it for me.
Okay, I love that because that's one of the only book that I've recommended to my brother that he was like,
so
no.
Good. Oh my god.
I was like, oh.
Good.
Okay, well, that's fine. My name's Katie Colson, and I feel as though I'm swiftly falling into the same category that Chanel
Don't say that.
I know it's bad. Like I haven't posted nothing out of my. Okay, well, Holly Jane, now you're giving me too much. You're giving me too much credit on that one. Kayla's just like single-handedly pulling me out of the grave. Let's see. I technically, I am a booktuber. Kayla, you should.
Oh my god, I'm so stupid. Out of the grave.
Why does everyone have one but me? I'm going on the website right after this.
Did we already lose Kayla? That happened so fast.
Well, no, I think she did it out of like, wait, is that not a joke? I thought she did it as a gag.
No, I think the
It's fine. She'll come back.
Yeah.
We can keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm long-winded. It's fine. The 2 recent, as in this year, that I really loved is A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers.
Oh, I haven't read that yet.
Oh my god, the writing is so good. And then Someone You Can Build a Nest In is like, these are definitely like top. Oh my god, this is actually, I forgot. What is this? Jesus Christ.
Oh my gosh.
That's a lot. Also, gay. The gayest gay that you can gay in horror is this. So yeah, I would definitely suggest both of these. Didn't tell you what they're about, but that's fine.
We're not here for that.
No. Figure it out.
I'm Sally. I don't have a YouTube. I mean, I guess technically I have a YouTube channel. I don't read books on there. Do anything recent there. But you can find me at Sally Simply everywhere. I'm executive director at Feminist Book Club. That's my content contribution to the book space. I had to scroll all the way back to June to find a 5-star horror or thriller.
Oh no.
Except for maybe is one of these a 5-star? We'll find out. but that one was Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. I love that book. I do not own it. I only realized while preparing for this. But I loved it. It was a wild ride. I was here for it. It has been my staff rec at the bookstore that I work at, and people refuse to buy it. And you know what? They're lost. They're lost. That's what I have to say about that.
I love that when you feel so passionately about a book and you're like, no, just read it. And they're like, no, I'm okay. And you're like, you're a bitch, but okay.
Just watching them pick it up and like read the thing and like, oh, okay.
And put it down. Okay, okay. Sometimes what I do at the beginning is I want to hear like a 1-sentence explanation of how we felt about each book, but I feel like that would be a little bit to kick it off with. So I told my co-hosts to come with a 1-sentence way to describe all 3 of the books in 1 sentence. Either
I did not understand the plot of.
I think here's the thing. When I sent that, I had read 2 of them, and I was like, oh, these 2 have so much in common. I bet there's a sentence that I could come up with that would describe all 3 in one word. I was like, it's something about sleep. These books all have to do with sleep. Or I was like, these books have to do with animal cruelty. And then I read this, and I was like, I don't have anything to sum up all 3 of them now. But I do, and it's going to spoil my ratings, because I gave all of these around a 3. So there's my sentence for all 3. Does anyone want to share a sentence about their experience reading?
I did have a sentence which was kind of predictable, but sometimes a good time.
Great.
Great, love it. My sentence for all 3 is I need all the characters from all of these books to participate in a sleep study.
Hey, that's a good one.
I would venture to say there's some sleep, super creepy sleep.
You're not wrong, actually.
I lost the plot. I thought we were just writing a short sentence for each one. That's my bad. That's on me. Mm-hmm. But I will say my favorite one that I said was for this one, and it's if Annie Wilkes was your mom.
Terrifying concept. That's from Misery.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I've watched 20 minutes of that movie.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, hopefully.
The middle 20 minutes.
The middle chunk, and I was like, I fell asleep. That's what happened. And then I forgot about it.
Okay, Tina's sentence is all 3 underdeveloped characters and unsatisfying. I'm so sorry that was your experience. Unsatisfying endings, great starts, felt unfinished. Interesting how a lot of them kind of had that vibe. I do feel that with novellas in general, a lot of novellas just leave you on a feeling of, oh, okay, I have a lot to think about now. And novels don't always do that, but novellas do. So I'm glad that we did some novellas. Actually, does everybody want to share their favorite? And then hopefully all 3 of you have a different favorite, and then you can tell us the synopsis of those as we go through. Chanel, what was your favorite?
My favorite one was The Graveyard Shift, but also I am like partial to that author. I really, really love, because they wrote If We Were Villains, and I really love that book. That book for me did what The Secret History was trying to do. And I did not like The Secret History, but I loved If We Were Villains. And so as soon as I saw that was on the roster, I was like, I'm there.
Okay.
And I still didn't give it 5 stars. I think the highest rating I gave, I don't know if we're talking about ratings.
No, sure.
Okay. The highest rating I gave was to The Graveyard Shift, and I think I gave it 3 stars.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so this novella experience was interesting.
No, but this is tea, because the thing is, the only person that can really drag me out of retirement is Kayla. Really, truly. It's like participate in the buzzword, and I participate whenever there's a live show that I'm invited to. That's it. So I was going to be here. But yeah, Graveyard Shift was my favorite one.
Okay. Katie, what was your favorite?
Okay. This doesn't normally happen where I'm like not the dark horse. I'm like the white horse of like championing. I loved all of them.
Oh.
I loved all three.
I'm with you.
Amazing.
Love is a strong word for some of them, but
Yeah.
it gets me.
No, there are things I was like, but I gave them all 4 stars. I loved all of them.
Okay.
The best one for me was The Night Guest. This one had me intrigued and then had me gagged. Graveyard Shift, writing, amazing. And then this is where we talk things out, only because I was so angry. That's like during so much of it.
Okay. All right.
My favorite one was The Night Guest. I originally gave it 4 stars. I reread it yesterday. I even said in my review, I could maybe bump this up to 5 if if it lingers.
Mhm.
And baby, I did. I did bump it up to 5 stars. I don't know how. Don't ask me questions about it. Why I did that, but I did, and I committed to that 5 stars. I also, by the end of the second time, was like, "Is this one of the best novellas I've ever read?" I don't know. That might be going far, but I also was trying to find. I cannot actually recall what I gave the other one, and I did not write it down in my notes, so now I have to go find them. I think I gave the other 2 4 stars. I'm pretty sure.
You know, that's funny because I legit was like, wrote down, I was like, is this a 5? I'd have to reread it to know. So that's interesting that you say that.
Okay. I wanted to find some people saying their favorites. Let me see. Didn't read any of them. I'm glad you're here anyway, just to hang out.
Oh my gosh, I love that picture. The one that
cute.
person has is their profile. It's so cute.
Okay, Danielle, I think you need to hop into the live show and take over the discussion for this book then, because we don't have somebody who said this one.
Yeah,
And
I need to know what you liked about that.
I think it accomplished a lot of things, but it wasn't my favorite time. Night Guest and Graveyard Shift were a 4.
Yeah.
Night Guest was a 5. I'm so glad. I'm glad people had a good time with some of these. It seems like Night Guest is the overwhelming favorite. Just kidding. Night Guest was a 2.
Yes.
Graveyard was a 3. This one was a 4.
Oh wow.
Actually, I'm going to ask this at the end. I just thought of that. Let's talk about any recommendations for novellas at the end, if anybody has any. No
Well,
pressure.
also a question I would wonder is like, if you gave them all like 3 or 3.5 or lower, do you traditionally dislike novellas? Because I feel like they're a specific kind of medium that you either like or you don't, like cozy. Like you either like it or you don't.
Yeah,
That's
it's a good
true.
question.
You know what, Katie? That's a really good question because I typically feel unsatisfied with novellas because I feel like they don't, like I always want more, and that's how that's how I felt with The Graveyard Shift, even though it was my favorite one. I was like, this should be a novel, like a full length. But the other ones I felt did a good job at being novellas, that they were like perfectly fine in that way. Oh, okay, the little banner went up quick.
Well, since you're talking about Graveyard Shift, let's start our discussion of the first one.
Ooh, yes.
And as you know, one of my questions for every single book that we're going to talk about is, would this have been better as a full-length novel? But first, I'm going to have Chanel pitch this to us.
Ooh, okay. Ooh.
On the spot, let's go.
I'm getting nervous. Okay, so like I already said, I really love ML Rio's writing style. So if you love like an author that can really give you dynamic characters, because I think that's something that this book did really well, is the characters were super interesting. They all felt very, very different, especially for something so short. Like I was actually caring about the characters and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And also if you like some sass, if you like characters that are like super suspicious, like that's my vibe. I was like, ooh, okay. It was like giving, if the book was longer, it would have gotten to the whole who hates who, who's gossiping about who, and you would have probably found out that everybody kind of hated Edie a little bit. You know, she's like that. You know what I mean? Like she's that person in a friend group that you're like, I'm sick of it. Like you got a text message from her and you know something just went down and you're gonna be stuck in a corner with her for 3 hours. So that was just the vibe. And I also really like Tamar. Like if you just really like characters that are very, very different and really, really like dynamic and really 3-dimensional, you're gonna love this because it's about all of them kind of like being in a group together, right? And they're like in this something. I forgot what they were doing.
Yeah, I don't even know how they connect.
Right. I'm like, that's the one thing. I'm like, how do these people, like, I already forgot.
They smoke together.
It was just because they weren't allowed to smoke on the school property. So it was the closest they could get to the school without being seen smoking.
Okay. Okay, they're smokers. That's the vibe.
That's it.
That's what brings them together. So yeah, it felt really gritty to me. Like, it just felt gritty and it felt interesting, and the characters were super cool, and so I liked it. But yeah, read it if you like all of that. Whatever I said, plot, don't ask. Just read it.
The
Just
plot
read it.
is there's 5 people and they show up to their like usual spot and there's like a hole in the ground and they're like, oh, somebody either dug up a body or is about to bury a body. And then I think that's kind of it. Like some of them stick around to see who it is, some of them don't, and then they all kind of connect in various ways. Like one of them is the owner of a bar, and one of them is doing ride shares, and they all kind of have to investigate the person who is, as we find out, I think we're in full spoilers. So there's this guy who's like burying rats in this open grave, and they're like, that's weird and suspicious. And then it all connects to like this fungus that he's like working with this other person, and they're investigating, they're studying fungus and seeing the effects of it, and they start with just learning like the therapeutic nature of fungus and like how to help people, and then they want to help people with insomnia, but in fact it makes the rats / people aggressive and cannibals. We didn't see the cannibal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I was like, wait a second, is about the characters specifically is I could not tell how old they were because they read like they were in college, but they weren't. They were teachers, right? Like,
well, one of them was a student.
Yeah.
And then one of them worked at the library. And then the others I don't remember. I cannot recall.
Yeah, I think for me, I feel like this, if it was a full-length novel, it would have really got to a point where it could be like some sort of mix of The Outsiders and Mexican Gothic. Like that's the potential I see in it. And you see what I mean? Like that's
a good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the potential I see in like a group way. I can see it really being like The Outsiders type of gritty, because I saw someone say that the characters were really edgy, and that's what I kind of like. Like sometimes you just need corny and edgy. And I think that this book would have provided corny and edgy and that like plant horror, like Annihilation, Mexican Gothic, that type of vibe if it had been longer. But anyway, yeah, sorry.
To be honest, I feel like this, I really liked the ending. I do agree. There was a couple things we definitely needed. There was like a couple things that if she had just put that in there, the ending would have not been like, okay, like, and now it's over. But I do think that the last line being like sleep in her eyes was like such a like twist of phrase to bring it back around. But the one thing is that I'm like, this would have really worked a lot better if it didn't feel like Edie was the main character, because she was so annoying. Like the only reason this book exists is because Edie wouldn't let anything go.
Yeah.
Everybody else was like, I don't want to get next to that hole. That's good. Also, a question. When they see Tuck and Edie see the guy dumping, they say hands and feet into the hole. They're like, oh my God, like it's a mass serial killer. And then they go to the hole and they see that it's rats' feet and hands. I don't know about you. Maybe I'm overestimating myself, but I think even at a distance, I could tell the difference between a human hand and a rat.
Like it'd be so tiny. Like, are these genetically modified, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle rats? What?
Yeah, I think that was written for our benefit for sure, to like give us some suspense, and not them actually thinking it was human. Like I can't understand either how that worked. I do think this would have been better as a novel. This is the lowest rating that I gave here. When I say everything hovered around a 3, this was in the 2s. This is a 2.75. Maybe even a 2.5. I think that this is like the 120 pages in the middle of a novel that you send to a publisher and go, here's the best part, here's the setup of my novel. There's 100 pages that comes before this where we see all the characters meeting. There's 100 pages after this where we see cannibalism and we see like crazy shit go down. But like, take a look at this. Do you like it? Do you want me to keep writing? This was not a full experience, and I love a novella, and I love when a novella leaves on a cliffhanger. I love when things are unexplained. This was just not this was not a book. This was not a complete experience. And I think that ML Rio does such a good job of creating an ensemble. I think she fell in love with her characters too much to let them go through anything bad. She decided, let me give these people a happy ending. Let me give these other two people like a kind of ambiguous idea for the reader to figure out. But I don't want anything bad to happen. I don't actually want to dive into the violence that I have conceptualized because I'm too close to these characters. That's what I think happened.
Y'all, I might be getting convinced to be a hater.
I agree that this is the one that works best. Like, I wish that this were a full-length novel. This is not a novella. I gave it a 4 mostly for the vibes. As a similar thing, my note, like to go with Katie's note, my note was when she says, like, it's a lot of bodies. I would have been like, it's rats.
Yeah.
That would have been the first thing that I said, not it's a lot of bodies. And then he's like, what? And she's like, not human bodies. I'm sorry, why would you say it like that? It's a lot of bodies, actually.
Well, I feel like
just
she was
one.
always trying to make things like more dramatic so that there would be a story. But one question I also had was when they were like, oh, it's a fungus that's like, it's bad and it causes aggression, cannibalism. And then we find out, that was confusing when we find out that the dude that had the guy at the bar that had attacked somebody, that he died. I was like, wait, so then they just die? Like, it's not that they have to kill each other, like they just die. But when they say that the guy's like putting the rats in the ground and burying them because, oh, well, if this Baroncium or whatever is found in the soil, it's fine because it was kind of already there. And I'm like, I'm sorry, wait. You decided instead of incinerating it, because maybe you'd have to account for that a little bit,
right?
You were going to plant it and harvest it in the ground. You know, that's how fungus works, my man.
But the fungus is already in the ground. So at least he's not making
We
the
can't
worst
ask
thing
too
happen.
many questions. We can't ask too many questions.
Yeah,
okay?
because with the cannibalism thing, I saw someone also talk about how the book just really should have because I was like, when will you eat someone? I was just like, if you don't get that, kill it out. Because no, it was too tame.
Yeah, don't say cannibalism if someone's not going to eat someone.
Yeah, why even
the hater in
as
me
a side effect?
Yeah, no, this book was weaker than I thought.
I really thought the end that Tamar was like, she seemed like she was like, yeah, I'm gonna eat her. Wait, was it Tamar? Like, she literally was like looking in her, like being like, is there any drugs that I can take? And she's like, or I can't remember if Tamar was her name, what the other girl's name was.
Hannah.
Yeah, there was Hannah. And
Hannah
I think Hannah and Tamar were the other girls.
Okay, Tamar
Hannah's
was the
the one
right
who
chair
was
girl,
sick.
right?
No,
Hannah was the right chair girl, and Tamar was the
library science.
They hook up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hannah's just such a like basic name for a cannibal that I'm like, that like Hannah's
said,
like
your name better be Lenore or
Yeah.
something real.
She's like
Hannah's not eating people. Lenore is.
She's like literally thinking about Tamar and is like, dang, you know what? Tamar's kind of nice. I kind of like her. I don't like liking people though. So, and then in my head, I was like, the next sentence is, might eat her. Like, she was totally chill with it, in my opinion, which I feel like we kind of understood from the beginning. She was a character that I feel like I was like, yeah, I get it. Like, she's weird. She's hostile.
Yeah.
She's tired. And she might kill somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, can we talk about who our favorite, like, was there any character who you liked getting back to their POV? I mean, we only got like 1 or 2 perspectives from each of them, but we had, oh God, who did we have?
Theo.
Tamar. We had Tamar. We had Theo. We had Tuck. I can't remember the difference between Theo and Tuck. One of them.
Theo was the bartender.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Tuck
Tuck is
was
the
the
one
not
in that
bartender.
building.
Tuck was the vagrant.
He was
Yeah.
the church.
Oh, right. He was the one who was staying in the church, right? Then we had Hannah, and then we had Edie.
Yes.
I think my favorite, like, as much as I didn't like being in Edie's head, I think that her perspective was my favorite for a moment because we got a scene with her where she had to acknowledge as a journalist how she was sensationalizing everything and how they were like, these are real people. Like, I can't remember who she was having a conversation with, but it was like, these people are dying. Like, this is bad. Like, this isn't just for you to go write a magazine article about and feel cool. This is real life. And she had to take a step back and be like, am I sensationalizing stuff? Like, should this be my career path? And I appreciated that.
Mhm.
My favorite character was Tuck because I liked how much he didn't want Edie around. 'Cause every
All right.
single time Edie popped up, he was like, "Oh, brother." And I was the same way. And I also just love dynamics where one character is like, "Get away from me," and another character is like, "No, let's be friends." So I liked being in his head.
Mm.
And I liked
I
that he was
like-
a little bit dodgy.
I liked Hannah the most. She was the most like unapologetic and honest, like just straight up like honest with people, but not. I don't know. Like, she was a bitch. Let's be real. Like, she was. I really liked her, and I honestly was very shocked at how much I liked Theo because I thought he was going to be annoying. And I'm not going to lie, I felt bad for him. Him and that bartender, I was like, he just likes you, girl. Like, he just likes you to come back. Come back. Also,
Yeah.
that there was no romance. Love that.
Mm.
Yeah, Theo was my favorite character. I really appreciated him at the end too, like coming to Tuck. Tuck was really giving me Adam vibes from Raven Boys.
Stop!
Okay.
He was really giving that.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I couldn't. I'm so sorry. Couldn't stand him. But you know, I get it. Misunderstood kiddo. I get it. You know, whatever. It's fine. But I really love Theo. I also really love Tamar. I just like a little cute librarian who's like, I don't know, I'm just gonna go do some research and like print a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
That relatable queen. And that's your contribution. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know.
Okay, can we talk about the ending? Like, obviously, I think it goes without saying. Well, no, we did say it. We don't like the ending because it left us unsatisfied and we wanted it to go a little bit further. But what do you think about the ending when it ended with Hannah going into Tamar's stuff and finding a little blue egg? What did that mean? And I'm so confused. Somebody help me. She like opened the jewelry box and there was an eggshell. It was blue and there's a little hole in it. And she was like, it looked like something had escaped. What does that mean? Like, what does that have to do with anything? And did I just miss a metaphor?
No, I don't know that you did. I highlighted that and I was like, I'm not sure what's happening here, but I think I like it. I like it. I think that I like this random ass tiny blue egg.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I just closed the book. I was like, well, whatever that meant.
Don't remember the egg.
What? That was the most confusing part of the whole book. I was like, I read this whole thing. I felt like it was supposed to really mean something because it was in like the last paragraph.
Yeah.
And that's also why I think that this was supposed to be longer because maybe she was about to like expand on the egg. Like maybe that was going to become the next chapter.
There must have been someone in ML Rio's like, circle of people that works with them that was like, all right, rent's due. Give us what you have quickly. Because that's what that book gave.
Maybe. But I think maybe it was just like to show that Tamar, I don't know, was like sensitive and like had a cute little egg in her. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
It's juxtaposed by, it says, Hannah popped the top off and was surprised again. Not pills or weed or even her old wedding ring, but a tiny blue eggshell intact except for a hole in one end. Like whatever was in there got one look at the world, decided not to come out. I said, I don't know what this means, but fine.
I guess it's a metaphor. That's fine.
One thing about this book is that I was like, the first thing I wrote down is the amount of times I've said, what does blank mean is truly humbling. Like every page I had to Google asked what it was. And then the second to last note I said is, okay, but lugubrious is crazy. Like lugubrious?
Favorite word.
I don't know if anyone read the beginning. I think the author's note or something at the beginning where the author was like, finally getting to write something about my lack of sleep. I've always not slept well. It just really gives that this is not how they meant for it to come out. Because if I've been thinking of an idea for like 10 years
and this was it,
and this is what it is,
that's it.
I'm cooked.
This is her Addie LaRue.
Yeah, no, literally. Like, although I loved Addie LaRue, I'm like, the only person who, like, that they're like, dang, sorry, y'all. This isn't who I am.
Okay. Now that we've roasted it, do you have any final thoughts about a good thing about it? Is there anything you enjoyed that you'd like to share? I have, there was a moment where they said, like, they discovered this guy was dealing with this fungus, and the quote was something like, they were expecting it to, like, expecting him to be, like, this terrible person or that, like, something more was going on, but it was just, like, a guy. And it said, he's just a PhD student. He's not a criminal mastermind. And I really like that because in a lot of books, it is a criminal mastermind. Like, there is, like, this big underground reveal, and, like, there's a million people in on something, and, like, he's the smartest person ever, and he's done all this stuff. But it's just a guy. It's just a guy. He made a mistake. Like, weird shit happened. And I like that element of the book, that it was just kind of a simple answer, and it wasn't this big, deep, like, cult or something.
Well, that he wasn't even the mastermind at all. It was a crazy
Yeah,
female
a
scientist,
lady.
and he was just like the
He was just
hunchback
there.
Notre Dame in the corner. You know?
What the? My favorite scene and passage was Tamar doing her aggressive researching and Google, where she was like, "One thing about me, I'm
Right.
gonna find someone."
Mhm.
Because because that's literally me. Like, my friends would be like, "Chanel, you did not just find this person's workplace." I'm like, "Sure did, sure did." Like, and I just really loved that.
Yeah.
Just
I-
the rats in general.
I think, well, this is like so stupid, but I was just like, oh my God, wow. Okay, research. She did not have to do that. Is when she talked about, there was like just one little paragraph that for no reason and had nothing to do with the plot was like telling us the server slang. And all of it was completely accurate. I was like behind, heard, 86, all of that. I was like POS. I was like, that is all things I say every single day at my job. And I was like, Emma Rio, you've never been a server. Have you
I think she has.
like your writing tells me that you were not in the service industry.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of scenes, but I just really want to highlight that when they're talking about like taking the folk medicine and then turning it into whatever, like real medicine or whatever.
Mhm.
And then one of them says like biomedical cultural appropriation. And I said, that's
Right.
real. That's real. I love that line.
True. I love how she kicked off, like, with the
Yeah.
author's note that was like, I don't really know that much about science. And I was like, it sounds like you do, because I know less. So you sound real smart.
Guys, what if this novella is really just ML Rio telling us publish or perish, regardless of the quality?
You know? Maybe this is an experiment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I will say, nothing kills your will to live like grad school.
Hmm.
Nothing has you contemplating moving to the moon.
I wouldn't know, but I believe you. Smart girls, rise up.
Oh, I want to say before this one goes away that I love that. So I'm graveyard shift.
Oh, hey.
Kayla's the night guest.
Oh, that's so
Wait.
cute.
Sally and Chanel combined.
With that
That's real.
slaying.
Oh my God, literally, because you're on top.
Wait, stop. That actually eats.
We're so
That's fun.
cutesy.
We did it on purpose. Don't get confused.
Wait, I have
Okay.
one other thing about Graveyard
Please.
Shift, about the ending. I thought that if it was going to stay a novella, what I would have liked at the end is the article. Like, I just wanted to read the article
Yeah.
that they published after
Oh.
all of this. Like, and then have
That's
that, like,
fair.
you don't need an epilogue or whatever, but just have that, like, as the epilogue, I guess.
Mhm.
That way, if you want to keep it a novella, then fine. But then at least it resolves something, even though we're not really resolving anything.
I
Yeah.
just imagined now Graveyard Shift as like a 600-page multimedia.
I mean, yes.
Like, and you get
Mhm.
like you get Edie's like journalistic
Yes.
papers, and then you get the research papers, you get interviews.
Her messy notes.
Ugh.
Mhm.
This is so random, and I just remembered this because I was like, I'm sure everybody's gonna be like, Katie, no. Is that the scientist, Heather Lockley? I was reading that and I was like, Heather Locklear. I could
Oh,
not.
same.
Okay, thank you. I was
Absolutely.
Like, really weird, deep.
I had to
cut.
stop myself from thinking it. I was like, why would you name her something so close to a celebrity we all grew up with?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move over to the night guest.
Yippee! Ooh, I love
Whichever one of you thinks that you can take on the synopsis of this. the other one, let's do the night guest. Who wants to tell us about the night guest?
Well, Katie already gave the synopsis of this, which is misery, but she's your mom.
You know, not wrong.
Which I think that's it. That is
Right, Sally. Sally, take it.
I should have thought more. I shouldn't have done that to myself, but that's fine. I wasn't thinking that through. Okay, so the night guest is about a lady, okay, who's having trouble. Well, she's not having trouble sleeping. She sleeps and then she wakes up and she's got bruises. She's exhausted. She's trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. And she goes and she tries to seek medical attention and they can't give her answers. And then this is a wild ride of discovering what is happening when she sleeps and is it as bad as we think? And then it is. It's worse, perhaps.
I want to tell you what I wrote down because it made me laugh. Okay. And I said, oh my God, my hand. Jesus Christ. Okay. The night guest. A woman is constantly tired and aching, puts on a Fitbit, and realizes that those boots were indeed made for walking.
Stop. Okay. You're an icon, a legend. That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much. The night guest, my just initial thoughts are this was both more horrifying and less horrifying than I expected somehow. It's like when we started out just learning about this woman, when actually, I have a little, wait, hold on, I have a little banner. What did you think was happening? So at the beginning, before I even started the book, I was like, it's about a woman who, there was blood on the cover or whatever this is. Like I figured it was blood. So I figured she is at night being possessed by something and she's killing people. Like that was my thoughts going in. And then as the book went on, the first half of it was a lot slower than I thought. And it was just about her trying to like understand her, like what was going on in her sleep, going to different doctors. And I was like, okay, so this is kind of more like a feminist story about this woman who maybe her true nature is coming out in her sleep and she doesn't turn into any type of creature. It's just her fulfilling all of her, you know, taking her anger at the medical situation that she's in and just like killing people. So that's how my thoughts evolved. And then suddenly it was very gruesome and so many dead animals and strung up men in sheds. And I was like, oh, well, I didn't think we were going to go there, but we did. And I like it. So I gave this one a 3 as high as you can get without being a 4. It's like a 3.9, I guess, is what my rating was for this one. What did you guys think was happening?
I thought that she was turning into an animal and eating and destroying things around her. And then I was like, oh, that's not what's happening. And then I started imagining myself being the doctors hearing this and being like, girl, we got to get the priest in here and make the exorcism part 10.
Yeah.
Let's get to work. But yeah, those were my thoughts as I was reading it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying like what we thought was happening when we were first starting reading it, not what we thought happened.
Yeah, just like at the beginning. Yeah, because I guess like the thing is we still also don't really know at the end what was happening. We will talk about the end though separately.
Yes. I thought that it maybe was going to, I definitely thought it was something to do with her sister and that it was some like, either that her sister was like, that her ghost or something, like she was becoming her sister at night and that her sister was like going out and like living like a life.
Right.
Because I just assumed that Ithun killed her sister. That's what I assumed from the second they said she was dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. At first, we lost Kayla again. Hopefully she'll be back. I knew, okay, so I was like, okay, because at first we didn't know she had a sister. And so I was just like, oh, okay, she's just, I don't know, sleepwalking, like terrorized by something and is sleepwalking. And then once we find out she has a sister, I was like, oh, this bitch killed her sister and the sister has entered her body and is now, yeah. I couldn't tell if she was like doing bad things or, because when we first meet that one random guy that she had dated, Mauer, I think is that one. I forget, I get the guys confused, but I think it's Mauer. I was like, oh, you've been dating him on the side. And then it was like, no, that wasn't it. He was just talking about the dead sister. I was like, oh, okay. So then it's not that she's just living this other life. But yeah, no, but then it really, I didn't see the dead cats coming, I gotta say. Didn't see that coming. That was a plot twist for me. And then when the men were also there, I was like, oh, okay, sure, that's fine. It's fine. And then when the sister was there, but we'll get to that.
I think it was a good setup when she was just talking in the beginning about how she, like, all the neighborhood cats loved her. And she even introduced, like, the idea of this Facebook page, and people were posting their, like, missing pets, and she was just talking about it casually. And then once we get the reveal that she was, like, killing all the cats, I was like, and then she had that realization that the Facebook page missing cats were because of her. I was like, that was a good, because I wasn't thinking about that at all when she was just talking about the cats. When it first started talking about the cats, I figured she's probably, like, I even wrote down at one point, I was like, she's a werewolf. Is she a werewolf? Because I was just reading so many werewolf books, and when you're a werewolf, the cats are all scared of you. Yeah. So that was my thought. And then, yeah, when it introduced that she had a sister, I can't remember how far into the book it was, but I feel like it was a while. At that point, I, like everybody else, I think was like, well, her sister's doing something. She's something to do with her sister in her head. Mm-hmm. And I guess we can talk about that point, because, like, what do you think is happening? And do you think, because at first I was like, did it explain it? And then I was like, no, it left it really open. And I was like, no, but it did kind of explain itself. I can't figure it out if it was actually answering my questions or not. What do you think is happening?
I'll go.
Chanel's like, I'm gonna pass.
No. I think I think that we were not supposed to get the answers. Like, I think that it was, like, purposeful, but I will say that I was like, oh, that, and it's probably a stretch, but I was like, well, is she, I assume that Ithun killed her sister because she was smarter, prettier, cooler, whatever, and her family was always like, oh my God, you're never gonna live up to this. But then when she killed her, it was like, well, now you're really never going to live up to her because now she's an angel. And that it was like, oh, that her guilty memory of killing her sister, and in her sleep, she becomes her sister, and she does horrible things to make Ithun feel like she was justified in killing her, which I don't necessarily think that's true. But one thing I do think is true is that the cats and the men, I think that the author had her kill men and had her kill cats, because when she was killing men, I'm not gonna lie, if it was only men, I'd be like, okay.
But you had to have something to make you feel bad.
No, you have to have something to make you not root for her, like to make her a villain. And she was like, oh, like the cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also don't know. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, at first you're like, she kind of has a point.
Yes. I'm like, you like something.
I also can't tell if at the end we were supposed to understand the main character is this her ending her life because they were, like, floating in the sea. Because a lot of people, I read that as an interpretation in the Goodreads group, and I was like, I don't know if that's how I read it, is that she was going to end her own life, because it seemed kind of peaceful at the end. And I thought maybe it was her returning her sister to the sea, because she had accomplished her sister's goal of killing this man, because the only time she finally saw her sister was at the end after she killed a man. So that must have been her goal or her sister's goal. If her sister was controlling her, or if she, I don't know, but that's when things stopped. So maybe, like, that was the ultimate thing, was to kill Stefan at the end. But there was no information about Stefan and her sister, correct?
No.
But then a lot of people were saying, I think that maybe Stefan was also dating her sister and this was revenge. Which I guess could have been a thing, but there's no answers. And there's
no lead up to that, which is where I'm like confused.
Yeah, I think people are just, like, trying to find some explanation on their own. And is that the point of the book? Or did the author think that she gave us an answer?
Well, I thought that, like, when she saw her sister, it was like, well, maybe I'm giving her too much credit, but to me, I was like, oh, Ithun was like, I'm crazy. Like, this is it. Like, I'm going to jail. Like, I'm a murderer, whatever. And she's just like, come to me, brother. And, like, they just enveloped and became the same person, and she drowned herself. Because is that not how her sister died?
Well, the thing is, we also don't know for sure. There were no facts in this book. She said that she died an icy cold death. And Mar was talking to her about it, and he was trying to get answers from her, as if nobody knows how she died. So it seems like our main character is the only one who knows, and she just said she was like frozen cold or whatever.
Okay, I thought that at one point that he said something like, "Oh, well, that's like, isn't that known to be like a peaceful way to go, like drowning?" Maybe I'm making that up, but I thought.
No, yeah, he said that for sure.
Okay, so I just assumed that that's why she was walking to that spot, was because that's where her sister died, and that's why I was like, okay, are they like the same person? The one thing I was like, I really want to know is, I said, like, what was it that Ithun found under her sister's pillow the night that she died? Like, that was like a huge, like, why even say that? What was that about?
I've been trying to figure out if it was the brooch, because she also mentioned the brooch a couple times, and how her sister had this brooch, and the brooch was like set up in a little circle of rocks in the shed. So I was assuming that's what it was under the pillow. My first thought was like, oh, she left her a suicide note. Yeah. And then it started talking about, and that's the only thing I could like grasp onto was this brooch. So I thought maybe there was a curse. The curse had to, like, the curse is what killed her, and then the brooch passed on to her, and she killed the other guy and then broke the curse. I don't know. Here's the thing. Yes, it said she drowned, but it wasn't factual. Like, she just said that, right? So, but we don't know anything because nobody ever saw her dead body. Nobody ever actually talked about seeing the dead body. And Mauer seemed very confused, like he wanted answers because he obviously doesn't know. So it seems like nobody knows but our main character.
And she's unreliable.
And I think that's fine. Yeah, I didn't. It's interesting because the first time that I read it, I thought, so like my memory of the book after the first time was like, oh, and then she kills herself at the end. But then when I read it, it wasn't until the second time that I read it that I was like, oh, I mean, I guess it doesn't say that. I just assumed that from the first time reading it. But it's interesting because reading it the second time, I was just along for the ride because now that I knew what was happening, I just got to like really appreciate it. And that's when I stopped asking questions. I think I had more questions the first time around than I did the second. Because the second time I was like, oh, who cares? It's great. I don't need to know any of these things. What was under that pillow? Who cares?
Well, okay, that was it. I forgot that Holly Jane. Was it intentional? And I'm like, I'm not saying I believe this because it would be way too much of a stretch, and I'd be like, the author, like, you have to give us something. But I'm like, if it was a note. And it was like, oh, that she had done this to herself because of a man. That was, and maybe what was happening. It wouldn't explain the cats except for like she was practicing, I guess. But I do want to say that I'm really intrigued because we got Kayla's hyperfixation on a blue egg and a brooch. What is it going to be in this one? Like,
wait, I do have something I want to talk about. That's
does
so
it start
real.
with a B?
Oh my god. Oh, this one. Okay, would this one have been better as a full-length novel for you? I actually think that this would have been better as a short story, like in an anthology. I think this could have lost 50 pages, and it could just be like this very weird shorter story, like. And then you find out definitively at the end that her sister is possessing her. I think maybe, like, thinking about it now, the cats maybe, like, if her sister was controlling her, which I still don't know if that's what the intent was, maybe it was her sister trying to get her attention, like trying to tell her I'm here. And so she was doing, like, the most violent thing she could, but because she isn't in full control of her mind, she could only do cats. I don't know.
Well, if it was her sister, like, you killed me, I'm back, then it was her killing all her friends because those were her only friends.
And then the ending also doesn't make sense because at the ending, her sister is the one who hands her the knife to free the man who's being held captive. Like, she slit his things open and she let him free.
Okay, I thought that the sister handed her the knife to be like, kill him, and she was like,
I thought so too. And then I thought she let him free, like, against what the sister
But then they
wanted.
peacefully walked into the sunset together, so clearly not. I don't know.
Well, also, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed. I was like, you're just gonna let him go?
I know, me too. I wanted him dead.
Okay.
That's so funny.
He doesn't need to be alive. What's he doing? What's he gonna do?
For what? For who is the question.
Okay, people like the length.
I agree that it could have been a short
Yeah.
story, because if it was a short story in an anthology, I would not have cared that I was confused like that.
Yeah, I think I'm more willing to be lost when it's only like 20 pages.
Yeah.
I like the length. I think this is perfect. This is wonderful. This is beautiful. No notes. I have no notes.
Okay, well,
I have questions, but no notes.
share with us a favorite scene or passage you had,
Okay, wait. I gotta find my thingy. Where's my...
or if anyone else wants to go first. I think just the idea of I had one specific quote. She said, she was talking about, a lot of this book that we haven't really talked about it's about like women's issues and feminism and misogyny and stuff like that. And she talked about the specific section that was about silence and women not being able to tolerate silence. Centuries of socialization have conditioned us into believing that it's our responsibility to create a cozy atmosphere and ensure that no one is embarrassed about anything. That's why we laugh at jokes that offend us. That's why we smile at people who pat us on the butt. That's why we pretend that it's just a coincidence when a boss repeatedly brushes against our breasts at work, because anything else would just be so embarrassing for everybody. I really like that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I loved all of those, and then I also love that this is also about like sanity and being believed. And like to that, there's like two sections that are not anywhere near each other in the book, but that I really connect. So when she talks about, because there's nothing worse than having unexplained symptoms, feeling like there's something terribly wrong, but nothing that can be measured in exams. And you know that the doctor thinks it's all in your head. And then way later she says, and that's the worst, the uncertainty, the fear that there might be nothing wrong, that it might all just be in my head. Because at the beginning, she's like pondering it sort of like it is an abstract thing. And then nearing the end, and she's like, oh, there's something wrong, like this is in my head actually, maybe. And sort of like the confronting of that I found really interesting.
I think that, like what you just said, something that I really liked, it's almost like the other conversation that was being had at that point in the beginning when she's seeing the female doctor, the way, like in her head, the way she's viewing her it came across like so mad woman, but I was like, no, that's like so realistic when she's like looking at this female doctor and is like, oh my God, I want to give her a hug and tell her I'm proud of her. And I was like, yes. Like, I loved that. And this is not to like bring it up again. I just remembered that I read this down and I was like, it was like when Mar asks if Ithun ever wonders what her sister would be doing now if she were alive, Ithun thinks, I don't have to wonder, I know. Anyway.
At that point, I was trying to figure out, like, does she mean... I think we can interpret it so many different ways. She knows what her sister's up to because she's, like, in communication with her. Like, she's part of her own brain. Mm-hmm. Or it means, like, she knew because, like, as soon as her sister died, their entire lives were suddenly, like, decided for them. Like, she knew exactly what everybody was now responsible for, I guess. Mm-hmm. There was also a... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I get what you mean.
Or she's like, I know what she'd be doing. She'd be killing men.
Yeah. And then when she said, like, before she died, my options were completely open, and once she died, my life was like chosen for me, basically. Mm-hmm. I also liked, actually, I'm bumping this up to a 4. This is my official announcement. This is a 4-star now. I went from 3.75 to 4. I really liked, there was this one passage that I think came across really well, that I'd never thought about before in a book. Or in life, I guess, is when, like, you think about somebody who's died and it doesn't, you don't consider the fact that other people remember them differently. Like, when you think about someone in your life who's passed, you remember, like, when you think of them, you think of a certain memory or a certain photograph, like, you visualize them a certain way. And, like, every other person who's ever met that person, when they think of that person, they see them differently. And that's something I've never really thought about before. Like, when I think of my grandma, I think of, like, a certain hairstyle she had. And when someone else thinks of her, the last time they saw her, she was at a different age and she looked different. And, like, they think of her completely differently. And there was a really interesting passage somewhere in there about that.
Yeah. I liked everything that was centered around the discussion of medical misogyny and, like, a lot of stuff that people have talked about. Just going to doctors and being like, something's wrong. And then being like, yeah, you're crazy. Anyways, take some Advil for $500.
Right? And then all her friends were like, have you tried yoga? Have you tried eating meat? Have you tried going for 10,000 steps? Like,
Okay,
Like,
I'm sorry, she had friends? Like, that was so confusing to me. Because she was like, oh, my friends are the cats, and that's it. And then she's like going out and getting wine and hanging out. And I was like, I don't do that. And I do have friends.
I think the implication was those were her sister's friends, right?
I thought so, because one of them
she said
went
they
to
were a couple
school
years
with
earlier.
yeah.
yeah,
A couple years
sister.
older, and her sister
I
was a
think
couple
they're-
years older.
Yeah, I think those are her sister's friends that are now her friends.
Yeah, they like brought her in because they're all grieving, and they're just like,
Yeah.
that
Katie's
was
about
my
to come back
assumption.
with this theory. Katie's about to come back with this theory. I'm seeing it.
Well, I'm like, why are they still grieving when I thought her sister died when they were in high school?
Oh, I don't even remember when she was supposed to
Yeah,
have
because
died.
it was like her sister was like gonna go off to college, or she was so promising, and Ithun
We
was
gotta
so.
start interrogating these authors. We
Wait,
gotta
what?
start putting them on the podium and say, explain this to me.
Well,
Wait,
that's- No, you go.
I also have to say one of my favorite parts was when she is talking to the psychiatrist about like going into the institution or whatever, and she's like, "Can I be put in a straitjacket?" I was like, "This is iconic. This is iconic." Like the fact that you leave that meeting by asking if you could be put in a straitjacket, and then of course and then you're like, "Oh no, I'll think about it." And then when you're talking to him on the phone, and he keeps being like, "So you're okay?" Of course, he's gonna ask you 50 times. You just asked to be put in a straitjacket.
Yeah.
I think I had one question, but we need to move on to the last book. I don't want to keep you guys here forever. I did have a question that was, what did you think of her choices, and would you make similar decisions? And my takeaway is just that, like, she didn't try hard enough to keep herself secured in her sleep. Like, she had that one moment of being like, put me in a straitjacket, and then she was kind of like, oh, I'll just tie something around my foot. Like, try harder. You're murdering people. Like, what is wrong with you? I would have tried a little bit harder to get help. That's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on to, this is where we go to talk things out.
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh God.
Thank you so much. I was like, are we going to peter out on energy? We're going to a third book now, but no, Chanel's here for it. Okay, Katie, you shared what it was about, did you?
This is a self-help book on how you should not let toxic people back into your life.
Correct.
It doesn't matter if they birthed you. So don't go. There's a lot of things to say, but Annie Wilkes, if you know, you know. If Annie Wilkes was your mom, it's that's really. I mean, really, that's all you need to say, because like there's really not much else. It's just it's a what do you call that when you're not disinherited, you're
Disowned.
Estranged.
estranged. Okay, I was just gonna say you don't fuck with, but estranged. You just follow a lesbian who her and her mom don't talk. You don't know what happened, but she's not cool. Got it. And then her mom's like banging on her door, trying to get back in touch with her. And this lady who apparently is stupid decides instead of having
Stupid is too kind, Katie. Stupid is too kind for Miller.
Instead of having a phone call, she's going to go to a secluded cabin in the woods during a snowstorm.
Alone.
With a woman that is insane. Okay.
I gave this a 3 because I hated reading it. I really hated reading it, but it's a good story. Like, I think it accomplished the vibes that it wanted. Like, it is about this narcissistic woman, and I couldn't stand reading about her anymore. I was personally attacked by this book. It was painful to read. I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to stop reading it, but that's what the author wanted me to feel. So it was successful in that. I just hated my time with it. So those are my thoughts.
That's true. I was like so angry while I was reading it.
I gave this book 2 stars because I was like, oh my God, the stupidity is impressive. Because her mom, her getting into that car, as soon as that lady said, don't put your stuff in the trunk, it's full. And then they got to the cabin and she said, I don't have anything that
Thank you! What
I would have an Uber and got out of there. Are you joking?
The fact
Was it her
that
dad's body?
I just want to thank you so much. This is everything I wanted to talk about.
Oh,
I think that this book needs to be rewritten and I think we should have gotten in the head of the mother because I want to know what was happening behind the scenes because I just think the setup was a little bit of a failure to me. I wanted evidence that her dad was in the car because I think it almost implied that as if she wanted a reason for the daughter to not go look in the trunk. But that's not what was happening. I think she already had it set up. I think she had the house all ready to go. I think the father was in there. But I wanted it to be more sinister from the beginning. I wanted him to be in the vehicle. I wanted there to be multiple scenes where she's like, don't look in the trunk. Don't look in the trunk. I wanted, you know, when she fell asleep in the vehicle and then they got there and so she didn't know like how they got there or how far they went or where the location was. I wanted that to be more like her mom knocked her out. Her mom gave her a drink. Her mom gave her food when she got into the vehicle and she fell asleep and she woke up at the cabin and her mom wasn't in the vehicle. Like that would have been so much more sinister to me because then her mom like was literally setting it up while she was passed out in the vehicle. Like that would have just been so much more tension filled to me if that's what was happening. But it was more just like she had it all set up and she just brought her there and it was so willy-nilly. I wanted it to be more sinister. I wanted her dad to be a supernatural entity and was controlling her and making her do this. I wanted it to be more like she thought that she was summoning the ghost of the father and thought that if she brought back the house the way it was supposed to be and the daughter the way she used to be, that he would come back from the dead. I thought that's where we were going with this and I was disappointed when it wasn't.
Oh, Miller.
Thank you.
When I catch you, you was so dumb. Sorry, I have to say a few things and then I'm going to get off my soapbox. Here's the thing. Miller, it's been a long time since I've met a woman this dumb. Because you're telling me she got into that car and she said, where are we going? And her mom said, I don't know the name of the town. It's between two towns. She didn't grab that lady's phone and look in that damn Google Maps history and text her fiance and say, this is where we're going. And then she gets there. She didn't look at a single welcome to blank town sign. She didn't look at a single population count sign. She didn't open her own phone. I was like, Miller, do you know that you can open your phone really quickly as you're going there and see what cities you're past? She fell asleep.
But then her mom said, I actually bought the cabin. And she doesn't think, you don't know what city we're in? You bought this house. Where are we?
No, that was what was so crazy is that was where I was like, that's dumb, is that Sylvie knew exactly where it was. She knew the city it was in. She didn't want to tell Miller because she didn't want Florence to be able to find her.
Right. You can't put two and two together. And then after all of those red flags, so incredibly red, she said, yeah, I don't have service anyway, so let my phone die. She didn't even think I can play a game on this phone.
But this is the thing, like, Miller, this is what's so great about the book is that it perfectly embodies somebody who has experienced this her entire life. She has been treated like this her entire life. And she's like, she's gotten out of every situation before. Nothing this bad has ever happened. So why wouldn't she just go along with it? She's like, this is just my mom. This is just how it is. I'm going to survive this weekend. And maybe I'll finally have a connection with somebody because I have no friends. I have no family. I have nothing. This is my last chance, and like it can't be that bad. And she's just been convinced her entire life that she is the problem. So it makes sense that she goes. It makes sense that she's an idiot. Not an idiot, but it makes sense that that's the character that she built us to read. Was that in our perspective, she's making stupid decisions, but she has a different life experience.
Yeah, and I think that is fair and true. I mean, there's somebody in here who said, I really am that dumb, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you have gone through that. But I just have to say, to the people who are saying that they have experienced this, I just need you, when you get invited to a trip, please text your little group chat and tell them what city you're going to at the bare minimum.
Imagine if Florence showed up at the end and saved the day.
No, see,
Yeah, I kept
literally was
waiting
like,
for that to happen.
She was
That
in
was
that funky ass bed with her dead father.
I literally, the last thing I wrote is, okay, you're not going to get me to believe that the lesbian is not going to prevail. Florence is going to find her.
Right?
Right.
She's going to find her and she's going to kill Sylvie, and that's a sequel we need. But I think that, yes, realistic. I think that both, like, what you're, whatever things y'all are both saying is absolutely correct, because most of the time, the things that Miller was doing and saying, I was like, this is so realistic. This is a textbook toxic parenthood manipulation, emotional manipulation, guilt trip. Like, this is how it goes. But then there was like 20% of the time that was completely unbelievable. Like, there's no one on this earth wouldn't have been afraid or whatever, because so many times she would push back so hard on Sylvie and refuse to call her mom and like was doing all these things, but then would be like, well, I mean, I guess I'll wear these clothes that are just the adult Gap version.
No, because
I would have just stayed in my pajamas.
Oh, I'm staying naked. I'm not putting that on. That's crazy.
Katie, you just cooked up something for real. Because listen, because I'm reading this book, like, she can't even park her car or leave her name on her own mailbox because she doesn't trust her mother. But she's about to go to this town, unnamed town, to be with this woman for a whole weekend. It's not making. I think that was the thing. Like, I liked what the author was trying to do. I think, here's my thing. I don't think that when you read horror and thrillers that they need to be shocking to be good. Like, if I'm predicting things, that's fine. But you can't be not shocking and next level impressive degrees of stupid as the main character. So yeah. That's all I've got to say on that.
I will say I felt so stupid that I remember I wrote it down because I was like, I'm not gonna lie, on page 78. Oh wait, sorry, no, that was a different thing. But that the page 72, I did not even think that it was the dad's dead body. I don't know why it didn't even occur to me. And then on page 72, I was like, oh, it's the dad. I'm like, what did I think was happening in there? I don't know.
I thought he had died a long time ago, like way longer. That's why I didn't think it was the dad either, because I thought he had died like in her childhood. So I didn't expect. For some reason, I was like, yeah, it's been a while. No way.
For some reason, I can't explain why I didn't. The only thing I knew about this book was that they go and she has recreated her childhood house, and so for some reason, truly, as soon as she said there's nothing in the trunk and didn't want her daughter to go get it, I thought it's her dad's dead body. I can't tell you why I predicted that so early in the book, but I did. And that's when I came up with my theory of like, oh, she's trying to summon him back.
Yeah.
Oh, well, a question on that.
Kayla, that's who was summoned. That was summoned. Kayla.
Got her. Okay, I'm confused because the smell was so bad that dad had to have already been in the house because she would have.
Yeah, I don't think so. Here's what I thought. Okay, because I didn't think that it was the dad in this trunk. I thought that what was happening with the trunk was because at first I thought, or whatever, I had to like read back. Like once she says like, you know, it's full or whatever it is that she's saying. That's when I was like, huh, okay. So I read back. I'm like, okay, I guess she never said like what it's full of. But I think it's full just because like this bitch lives here, and so she's just living her normal life. She's got a full trunk. She don't care about you needing to put your bag back there. Just don't mess with her stuff. So I didn't think that he was in there. I thought he was already in the house. But I think once the house, so like to answer this question, I think once the house was like her childhood home and like all these things, I was like, oh no.
Because would not have been able to carry that dead body by herself without making any noise.
And also, I don't think the dad was in the trunk, because you're telling me in a hello, welcome back, but you're telling me that she didn't smell that man when she got in the car. I would have popped right out.
I think it was just like her shit is in the car, and her
I think her
like
trunk
the mom is a
full.
fucking asshole, and she's like, "What? Why do you need to put your stuff back there?"
Yeah.
I I got my
Also,
stuff back there.
There could have been stuff in the trunk that would have just given things away. Like maybe
No.
like there was some like just stuff that would have given shit away if she had known. And this is such a tiny detail, but I'm telling you right now, when we just get the little boop of Miller saying that Florence is diabetic, I was like, this is gonna be good, y'all.
I don't even remember that.
I remember that when she's like, she doesn't really eat a lot of sweet stuff anymore because Florence is diabetic, and now it makes her feel like her feel sick. I was like, ooh.
Kayla erasing me. That's fine.
Okay, well, did anyone else notice that she drove a red Toyota Yaris, and that's what I drove for 10 years?
Listen,
Oh.
when I read that was my dream car when I was a kid, a Toyota Yaris, and people were always like, you don't want a Corolla, you don't want I said, I want a Yaris. Give me that car.
Same. And then I bought
so
it.
when I opened, I was like, this better be good, and it wasn't.
Was there a single human being that really was like, you don't want a Corolla?
I'm telling you, I got judged as a kid when I said a
Corolla
Yaris.
was the thing. Everyone had a Corolla.
Yeah, everyone had a Corolla, and you got judged when you wanted a Yaris and not a Corolla. You really did.
Unaware. I don't know anything that's happening with this car talk. So we're about to see Kayla again.
Sorry, y'all.
Come on.
It was the slander. The Yaris slander got her. Oh my God.
No, we should not have been talking about Milla's father.
No, now it looks like you're in a recliner, like the dad would sit in.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I think we have to wrap this up because things are going bad for me.
Oh no. Okay, wait. Can I just say, as the person, I guess, who liked this the most, I think like the reason that I liked it is because like was very relatable to me. It's the shortest one. It took me like 2 weeks to read because I had to keep putting it down.
Yeah.
And I could see myself doing a lot of these things. Would I have gotten in the car? I would have said, you know what, ma'am, take my bags. You can take my bags with you if you're not telling me right now where we're going. So that it would have stopped there. But like, if for some reason, if she had even given me the town, she could have lied to me. My mother's that kind of person. And I would have been like, okay, okay, yeah, let's give this relationship another try. So like, I found it very relatable for very sad reasons. Except for my mother definitely does not care enough about my father to keep him preserved. No, she doesn't care about that man.
Why
It would be
did
like, good
this
riddance.
man marry Sylvie? It did like there should have been some explanation as
It's
to
giving
why
he got trapped. I'm sorry. It's giving he got trapped and he did the right thing, marrying her.
Okay, so the fact that she did you think she was going to get out of it at the end? Because I did. I didn't think that her mother was going to get her back and be like, oh no, you're my literal baby and we're going to lie in this bed together with your dead father. I didn't think that's how it was going to end.
That Florence was going to come get her.
I was hoping she would run her mother over. I was hoping she would drive over that woman.
Yeah. Bring the Yaris full circle.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I think that oh my God, it just yeeted out of my brain. Continue. I'm so sorry.
You thought Florence was going to show up and save the day.
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my bad. It all came flooding back. I thought it was very realistic, like when the house, when it's like, she decorated it like this age of when she was alive and the clothes from this age. And I'm like, that's something that the psychologists are like, oh, if you have a toxic guardian or parent, or even it can be like not usually a spouse, but like a spouse or a friend or a sibling, especially if you have a very toxic version of that, they will always view you as the age that you were the easiest to manipulate. Mm-hmm. So like when your parents will not see you as an adult, it's because they refuse to see you as an adult.
Yeah. That's why then that's when all the like, why can't you be the way you were? Or, we used to be friends. I was like, when I was like 6? Like, when were we friends, bitch? What are you talking about?
Let us wrap it up with, are there any other novellas that you would recommend to the group if this was kind of their first introduction to them? And then I'm going to ask for any similar reading or movie recommendations.
Absolutely. Yeah, someone says What Moves the Dead. What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher.
Mhm.
Mwah. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
If you want something more fungal,
Yeah, more fungal. If you want something more weird, this is technically an anthology, but it's short stories anyways. But Cursed Bunny.
oh, Borachang.
Yes. Oh, and I hate novellas and anthologies, and those two are T-U-N-T.
What do you mean you hate novellas and you decided to come onto a 3 novella live show?
Lala, you invited me.
You
Somebody had to be the dark horse. Like somebody had to be the hater.
I'm not joking when I say all of my friends in real life know I'm gonna read for buzzword. Don't play with me. Like when people want to read, when people want to buddy read with me, and it's my buzzword pick, I'm like, I'm reading this in this month. You better get ready, or you're getting left behind. So I was gonna be at this live show regardless of what we were reading.
I love you. I want to hold up all my recommendations, but you can't see them, so what's the point? This is Woodworm, I promise.
Okay.
By Layla Martinez. I feel like actually there's an element of all 3 of the novellas that we read that is kind of present in here. There's like toxic relationships. There's a man who has like who's keeping these women in this home, and there's also like a kind of haunting, weird, I don't know, creaturey situation. I would also recommend if you liked The Night Guest, I would recommend Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. I feel like this one could work for you.
That book.
Also gay.
Yeah. And then Come Closer by Sarah Gran is like a good possession story. For the toxic mother-daughter situation, I think that A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher is like the ultimate one. I did not like that, but other people absolutely eat it up. And it's like the going back to your childhood home, and it's like not what you expect it to be. And her mother is questionable.
Well, isn't Just Like Home is kind of
that one too.
Oh, Just Like Home, yeah, by Sarah Gailey.
That one gets a little more strange, I think.
I'm gonna take every up. Oh, go.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that I was gonna pass on this question because I had recommendations of things that I was like, if you like this, then this, but they're not strictly novellas.
Okay.
For novellas, I'm just gonna keep shouting out Your Shadow Half Remains. It is still one of my favorite books of this year. Also, we had to remove this post. Also, a lot of ones that y'all already said, but we had to remove this post. I love. Not horror, but Becky Chambers writes really great novellas. I think that their novellas are really fantastic. Any of the Wayward Children books, it's just gotta shout them out sometimes and be like, there you go. Also,
that's my all-time favorite. Can you see
also it? The Deep, and what was my other one? A Convenience Store Woman. Also, there's a lot of like great translated like novellas.
Mm-hmm. I like a mix of like real life stuff too and the supernatural. So it doesn't necessarily have to be horror. I just like a novella. I like a short story. Just give me a little glimpse of an idea, and I like that.
Oh.
Katie's going to find a recommendation. She's got it. She's ready. We're prepared. What's it going to be?
No, I talk too much, so I'm going to hold true that I'm going to skip this question. So we go to book recommendations.
Okay, go ahead. You can roll right into book recommendations.
Okay. For this is where we talk things out. I think that something you said, Chanel, earlier, Just Like Mother is probably good for that too, because it is like a toxic. Yeah. It's not a mother-daughter relationship, but it is a
motherhood.
Relationship. But for this, because this one like went there and it did get gross. My favorite novella of all time. This is way extreme though. Like this is extremely gross. It's things have gotten worse since we last spoke. Also, gay. Okay. But like the gayest of gay. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. So there's that. And then also gay, also horror, also goes there, but it takes a minute. Like this one is Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson.
Ooh, I just read that and that ate. Oh, it was good. Yeah.
So I definitely think
solid rec.
if you like this, but you were like, let me get more, you actually get an ending in this.
Yeah.
True.
And then for Graveyard Shift, I think that what matches like the academia and what is going on, and you never really find out, but it is, I'm not going to say it's more satisfying because I feel like I might be lying saying that, but Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas.
Hell yeah.
People either love or hate the ending of that. I loved it.
Love it. Love it.
I loved it after I watched the Literally Dead book club where Aaron explained what was happening.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes. Also, okay. I swear every short horror novella is queer, and that's how it should be. The Night Guest, I think that recommendation I would say for this one, because it is like, what is this woman doing? And she's crazy. Like, is she a killer? Is she psychotic? Like, what's going on? And this was like one of my favorite of the year is Mayfly by CJ Leib.
Stop. I love that book so much.
It's so good, and
Yeah.
it's gay. Obviously, you know, I'm a broken record, but it's like American Psycho, but for the girls, you know? So I would say this. And then for Just Like Mother, or for this is where we talk things out. This is short, and I absolutely loved it, is Crossroads by Laurel Hightower. This is definitely like, what will a mother do to protect the image they have of their child in their minds? And it gets there. It goes there. I'm saying.
I couldn't think of very many for Graveyard Shift, but something that popped into my head that I think might work for some people, because there's a whole bunch of characters. It has to do with like, not fungus necessarily, but kind of, is A Botanical Daughter. I know you can't see it. I'm so sorry. It's by Noah Medlock, and it's, oh my God, how tragic.
Sally, it's just you and me. We're the last.
I'm so yeah, you get to charge my. Oh my God.
This is gay, and it's about a couple who they have different. One's a taxidermist and one is a botanist, and they decide to create a daughter out of their stuff.
Ooh.
And there's relationships, there's weird stuff, but it's also kind of like cozy cottagecore. It's a real mix of like gross and nice. It's very interesting.
Y'all, I'm going to the bookstore after this. This is not a good time for
It's a much longer one, but I just think there's something about Graveyard Shift that gave me those vibes. That's all I have. Does anyone else have any recs?
I have Rex. I know we're trying to wrap up, but I do have
No, it's okay.
For Graveyard Shift, I was trying to think of like a group trying to solve a mystery. One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. It's nothing like this vibe at all, but it is like a group of people that are not really friends trying to solve a mystery. Also, if you like those vibes, The After Party, that show on Apple TV, or Game Night, that movie, like also a group of people who are not really friends trying to solve a mystery. Mexican Gothic for the fungal vibes, and also Woman of the Dead. So that's what I had for Graveyard Shift. For The Night Guest, even though they're not really similar at all, but to me they have similar vibes. Rouge by Mona Awad, which is one of my favorites of all time. Also, if you like The Night Guest, I feel like you should be listening to Fiona Apple more. Is really, because that was my takeaway. At the end, I was like, you know what I should do more of? Listen to Fiona Apple. I think that those have similar vibes.
No, you said it, and I was like, I can't explain why you're correct, but you're correct.
I couldn't let it go once that happened. I have the most for, this is where we talk things out. I've now lost track of that, but like any mother-daughter things that creep me out. Sharp Objects, White Oleander by Janet Finch, Carrie by Stephen King. I also had Misery by Stephen King, even though that's not mother-daughter. And then if you're trying to heal, you know, your relationship with your mother, well, I don't have too many recommendations for that, but What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu, you know, really comforted my heart a little bit, mostly because it just helped me see that it's not just me. It's not just me. And those are my recs.
Amazing.
Okay. I have only 2 recs, and they're just books I want to recommend anyways.
Sure.
So the first one I have is Mother Thing, this book.
Oh, yeah.
Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth. If you like the toxic mother vibes, I'm gonna ruin your life and your relationship vibe. That's the book for you. And then The Eyes Are the Best Part, this book.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was so crazy. Like so perfect for if you really like The Night Guest. I would say like that's a really good one. Similarly with the sibling vibe, with the crazy family, like I would say mixture. But those are my 2 recommendations in general for all the vibes, because everybody else also said books that I would have added regardless. So yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. That was just the most amount of recommendations we've ever gotten in a live show. And I think the people are really going to appreciate it. I always come back and I look through all the comments and I write things down after. So I will be doing that again. Hopefully I'll be fixing my webcam by the next time I see you. I'm glad that I, didn't get completely kicked out and lost into the internet world. And I appeared again. We're reading An Academy for Liars in November, and there will be a live show at the end of November. It's by Alexis Henderson, and it's dark academia. I think it's like a more fantasy direction that our horror goes into, but I think it's going to be a good time. I will see you then. Hopefully next time you can actually see me. Love you so much. Bye.